Hello YouTube, Expensive Cardboard here. Bring you guys an optional deck recipe of the Fire King structure deck. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, running 3 copies of Legendary Fire King Ponix. This is the most important monster in the deck. If your monster that was originally fire is destroyed by battle card effect, you can special with this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Fire King spell or trap from your deck to your hand. During your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed and sent to the grave, add this card from your grave to your hand. You can only use each effect of Legendary Fire King Ponix once per turn. Next up, you're running 3 copies of Sacred Fire King Garunix. This is one new boss monsters that was released in the structure deck. He is a Wing Beast effect monster. If your monster that was originally fire is destroyed by battle card effect, you can special this card from your graveyard if it was there when the monster was destroyed, or hand even if not. If this card is normal or special summon, you can destroy 1 fire beast, beast warrior, or wing beast monster in your hand, deck, or face-up field, except Garunix. And if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the destroyed monster's attack if it had there until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of Sacred Fire King Garunix once per turn. Next up, we're running 3 copies of Fire King High Avatar Kirin. This is the most important level 8 monster in the deck. During the main phase, if this card is in your hand, quick effect, you can destroy 1 other fire monster in your hand or face-up field, and if you do, special with this card. If this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, you can special summon 1 Fire King monster from your hand or graveyard, except Fire King High Avatar Kirin. Then you can destroy 1 card on the field. You can only use each effect of Fire King Avatar Kirin once per turn. And then we're running 3 copies of Fire King Avatar Arvada for the obvious reason that it can negate a monster effect. And we're also running 2 copies of Fire King Avatar, whatever its name is, Ringbali. We'll just call him the monkey because it's just easier that way. Let's just call him the monkey. So he is there to negate spells and traps, while Arvada is there to negate monster effects. Pretty simple enough. And we're also running 2 copies of Barong. His name is a lot easier to say. If a face-up Fire King monster you control is destroyed by a card effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. Once per turn, during the next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by card effect and sent to the grave, add 1 Fire King card from your deck to your hand, except Fire King Avatar Barong. And finally, we're running 1 copy of Fire King High Avatar Garunix. This is the first one right here. Once per turn during the next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by card effect and sent to the grave, special summon this card from the grave. If you do, destroy all other monsters on the field. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you can special 1 Fire King monster from your deck, except Garunix. Next up, for hand traps, we are running 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, as well as 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. So these hand traps are complements from the structure deck. So thankfully, with the structure deck, we were able to get reprints of these cards. Droll is really good for stopping a lot of those combo decks. And Infinite Impermanence is just a good hand trap overall. Now for the spells. You're running 3 copies of Fire King Sanctuary. This is a continuous spell. When this card is activated, you can place 1 Fire King Island from your deck face up in your field zone. What I really like about this effect is that this effect can dodge Ash Blossom, because Ash Blossom can only negate card effects that add from the deck to the hand, while Fire King Sanctuary doesn't necessarily add it to your hand, it places it directly to your field from your deck. And then it has a second effect here. Once per turn, if a card in your field zone will be destroyed by a card effect, you can destroy one fire monster in your hand or face up field instead. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster, you can immediately after this effect resolve, Xyz summon one Xyz monster using only Fire King monsters you control. You can only activate one Fire King Sanctuary per turn. So this will also give you the ability to Xyz summon during your opponent's turn, which is really awesome. And speaking of which, 2 copies of Fire King Island, the field spell. This is pretty important. If this face-up card in the field zone is sent to the grave or banished, destroy all monsters you control. You can only use one of the following effects of Fire King Island per turn and only once that turn. During your main phase, you can destroy one monster in your hand or field. If you do, add one Fire King monster from your deck to your hand. If you control no monsters, you can special one Winged Beast monster from your hand. Next up, we have 2 copies of Fire King Skyburn, as well as 2 copies of Dark Hole. Just really good board breakers overall. We're also running 1 copy of Circle of the Fire Kings and 1 copy of Rekindling. With Circle of the Fire Kings, you can target 1 fire monster you control and 1 fire monster in your grave. Destroy that monster you control. If you do, special summon the other monster from your grave. And Rekindling can special summon from your grave as many fire monsters as possible with 200 defense, but banish them during the end phase of the turn. And for the last of the spells, we're running 2 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. Since we are running a lot of Beast Warrior monsters, this will come in handy, because when this card is activated, you can add 1 level 4 or lower Beast Warrior monster from your deck to your hand. All Beast Warrior monsters you control gain 100 attack. You can only activate 1 Fire Formation Tenki once per turn. And then for the traps, we're running 2 copies of Torrential Tribute, as well as 3 copies of Solemn Judgment, complements of the structure deck. Torrential Tribute is a really good board wipe, and Solemn Judgment is good just to stop your opponent's plays. Now for the extra deck, you're literally just playing 3 copies of everything that comes with the structure deck, especially your Garunix Eternity Yang of the Fire Kings. This is a really good Xyz monster. It requires 2 or more level 8 monsters. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can destroy all other monsters on the field. You can detach 1 material from this card to target 1 spell and trap on the field, destroy it. And if you do, this card gains 500 attack. If this card is destroyed while it has material, you can special summon Fire King monster from your grave, up to the number of monsters this card had. You can only use each effect of Garunix, Eternity Yang, and the Fire Kings once per turn. Next, we're running 3 copies of Coach King Giant Trainer, as well as 3 copies of Diamond Direwolf. So it's a very Xyz heavy extra deck. You're basically just running like 3 copies of everything for the extra deck. And then finally, 3 copies of Hida the Fire Charmer. I'm actually pretty glad this came with the structure deck. This is a very good link to Fire Monster. It requires 2 monsters, including a Fire Monster. This card is always treated as a familiar possessed card. You can target 1 Fire Monster in your opponent's grave, special summon it to your field, or to your zone this card's point to. If this link summon card is destroyed by battle, or is destroyed by opponent's card effect while in its own monster zone, you can add 1 fire monster with 1500 less defense from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Hida, the Fire Charmer, Ablaze once per turn. And then finally, our side deck. We were able to make a decent side deck here thanks to the structure deck. So for the side deck, we're running 3 copies of Dogoran, the Mad Flame Kaiju, as well as 3 copies of Alpha, the Master of Beast. Just really good cards to have in your side deck. Next, we're running 3 copies of Herald of the Abyss. This card is really good against those purely decks, which is an effect that allows you to pay 1,500 life points and declare 1 monster type and 1 attribute. Your opponent must send 1 face-up monster with declared type and attribute from their field to the grave. If possible, for the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with that sent monster's name. And we're also running 3 copies of Chain Destruction. And finally, we're running 3 copies of this trap card, which I cannot pronounce, but I'm going to do my best. Echelon of the Fire Kings, or is it Echelon? I don't know. You guys tell me how to pronounce it in the comment section. Special summon 3 fire monsters, 1 beast, 1 beast warrior, and 1 wing beast, 1 each from your hand, deck, and graveyard, but their effects are negated. Also destroy them during the end phase. You can banish this from your graveyard. This turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you normal or special summon a Fire King monster. So yep, that is the side deck. That's pretty much the whole deck profile for the $30 budget build. If you guys have different versions of this build, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And also, if you like this video, like and subscribe, and have a good rest of your day. Take care.